President Donald Trump is vowing to 100% follow through with tariffs on European allies if there's no deal for the U.S. to acquire Greenland. Over the weekend, Trump announced tariffs on Denmark and 7 other European nations that are opposing U.S. control of Greenland. Trump says that on February 1st, he'll hit those nations with a 10% levy. By June, if there's still no deal for the U.S. to buy Greenland, Trump says he'll raise it to 25%. Today, Trump spoke to NBC News, and when asked whether he would use force to seize the territory, Trump said, no comment. EU nations have called an emergency meeting for Thursday to discuss whether to use its most powerful trade weapons to fire back at the United States. And speaking earlier today, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer urged Trump to avoid a trade war.
Alliances endure because they're built on respect and partnership, not pressure. That is why I said the use of tariffs against allies is completely wrong.
Naaja Nathanielsen is Greenland's Minister of Business, Mineral Resources, Justice, Energy, and Gender Equality, and she joins me now. Minister, it's good to meet you. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
There are a few developments over the weekend to go over, but let's start with the tariff announcement from the President of the United States. Imposing tariffs on 8 European allies unless there's a deal for the United States to buy Greenland. What's your reaction to that latest move by the President?
Well, I was a bit surprised, actually, because we had just begun a dialogue with the U.S. administration after the meeting that was held last week, and I was hoping we could move forward with the dialogue more than going to new measures. So, of course, I'm really, really pleased by the swift response that I saw actually already Saturday night by several of the targeted countries that held their position and continued to support Greenland.
Do you think there can be meaningful dialogue with the United States, given what they've said publicly and what they've done economically and potentially militarily? Is there a real space for a meaningful conversation with the U.S. right now?
Well, I think there's always time for a meaningful conversation and dialogue. We need to continue the dialogue, even though we are in disagreement, as it was also said by the Danish Foreign Minister Lars Løkke Rasmussen and our Foreign Minister Vivian Motzfeldt, that right now we agree to disagree, but this should not be any grounds to leave the conversation behind. I think we still need to try to find common ground, not only for our sake, but really for many other countries' sake as well.
The President, the latest move as we're having this conversation is a missive sent to the President of Norway through official diplomatic channels. This wasn't a social media post. This was U.S. staff sending it to ambassadors, linking the ownership of Greenland, of your home, to what he considers to be his snub of not getting the Nobel Peace Prize. He says, I no longer feel an obligation to think purely of peace. He questions the right of ownership and says, I've done more for NATO than any other person since its founding, and NATO should do something for the United States. He's now dragging NATO even deeper into this. What are your thoughts on him linking this to the Peace Prize, linking it to NATO in his quest to own Greenland?
I don't really have a comment to the whole part about the Nobel Peace Prize. But what I do think is there's an element of truth in everything. And I think that NATO has been quite clear that they want to engage more, and so do Denmark and Greenland, really, when it comes to ramping up security in the Arctic. So we are not opposed to that at all, as also stated several times by my Premier, Jens Frederik Nielsen. So we are in agreement on that part. What I do think is very important for us to convey is that there is a red line, and that red line for us, of course, goes to the fact that we do not want to be bought or sold, and we do not want to be occupied by an ally. But besides that, I think we should be able to discuss all manner of things and solutions.
You very clearly have your red line and the right to self-determination, territorial integrity and sovereignty, all key principles. Do you think the President of the United States has a red line?
I cannot speak to the President of the United States mindset or aims and ambitions, but I do hope that in the end, we can see eye to eye and agree to move forward with the project of developing Greenland on its own terms. And when it comes to that, we have been really open towards American interests and said we realize our position in the world. We realize we are a neighbor to the US, and therefore we are part of the US national security interest sphere. We have no issues with that at all. But we do require respect for our people and for the concerns that our people have right now. And I don't think it's fair or even sensible to move forward with these ideas and rhetoric about buying and invading. It's devastating for prosperity, for peace, for all manner of things.
Well, what is it doing to the people in your home? What is it doing to the 57,000 people who live in Greenland? Like, we live right next door to the United States here in Canada, and we are intensely preoccupied with everything that happens. And there was talk of annexing us and making us the 51st state, which a lot of people laughed off, and I don't know if it's that funny anymore. I can't imagine Greenland sees this as any kind of a joke. So how are people reacting there in their day-to-day lives to all of this?
As mentioned, it is quite devastating. People are quite worried, and it affects everybody. Just like you, imagining the idea of an ally attacking you, it's really surreal sometimes. And many people in Greenland are worried about this scenario and concerned, and it affects everybody. The children are afraid, elders are afraid. We are living in times of uncertainty, and I really find it's deeply unfair because we have been nothing but a good ally. And I do believe still I do believe in peace. I do believe that that path has taken both Canada, US, Europe, UK, and others on a path of prosperity in the past. So I do not see any good reason why we should stray from that course.
The president makes the argument that Denmark has no legitimate claim of ownership just because, in his words, a few boats landed there 500 years ago. He's also made the point that he doesn't think Denmark and NATO can protect Greenland from Russia and from China, saying that essentially that there's 2 dog sleds there as protection, one of which was added recently. I know there has been some military exercises there involving NATO members, and Mark Carney, our Prime Minister, is considering a request or at least proposals to send Canadian soldiers there for more of a NATO presence. I mean, what do you make of what the President is saying about the defense of Greenland, and what do you hope Canada does, in fact, send soldiers to your home?
Well, I think that the idea of increasing the security and monitoring of the Arctic makes a lot of sense right now, and we are not opposed to that, and we welcome it, and we would be thankful for any kind of steps in that direction. Right these minutes, actually, I'm waiting for my foreign minister, Vivian Motzfeldt, to come with some statements about this. So maybe things will have changed after this interview, or maybe even some more concrete. So let's see about that. But we are in agreement with the idea of ramping up monitoring. And for us, it actually is, we see a lot of benefits because there can be dual use benefits for us as well. Like you, we have a great coastline, and this could be add to the safety for our fishermen and for the search and rescue part of everything. So for us, it makes a lot of sense.
Well, what about Canadian soldiers going to Greenland? I mean, this is something the Prime Minister will eventually make a decision, and as we're having this conversation, it has not yet been made. Would you like to see Canada send those soldiers, given what's been happening?
Well, I'm not really in a position to talk about that, especially before your Prime Minister has made his comments on it. So I will refrain from that. I will just say that all this show of solidarity has been really comforting to us, and we have also recognized, I think, the strong position from Canada regarding Greenland, and we really do appreciate it. And we are looking forward to even deepen our relationship with Canada. We have been actually on a path towards that for some time now, and I think, given everything that has happened, it makes a lot of sense for us to get a tighter bond.
The transatlantic alliance, obviously, though, is being severely tested, if not unraveled, by all of this. The EU is going to have an emergency summit on Thursday where they're going to discuss responses, including maybe a 90 billion euro retaliatory tariff package. I mean, as the allies get together and weigh all of this, what do you want them to keep in mind?
Well, I really travel around right now with two messages. And one is, I really hope that the NATO member countries will recognize the relevance and value of that alliance and what it has brought to member countries. It has brought peace and prosperity more than unrest. And that, I think that's really something to take note of. And the other thing is, we live in a time where upholding international law and a rule-based world order is really key. It is now we have to stand by those ideas that was introduced to our world after some very dark chapters in the world history. International law did not come from nothing. It came from some serious incidents that really was traumatic to us in the Western world, especially with World War II. So I think it makes a lot of sense to uphold international law, to see the value of partnership and alliances in a time like this. And I do hope that member countries of the NATO alliance will have that in mind.
Minister Naaja Nathanielsen, it was nice to meet you. Thank you for your time today, and good luck with whatever comes next. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.